everyone, welcome back to JEBCast, the place you come to hear first-hand insights from those driving change and making a difference of everything in the workplace. I'm your host, Shuxin. And today with Sandy Lam and Andy Russell,
Hello.
we are diving into a topic that's at the heart of Green Revolution, and that's the role of sustainability certifications. Our conversation today, titled Sustainability Labeled, Creating Transparency or Confidence or Financial Burden, will explore certifications like LEED, EPDs, and more that are not just checkboxes, but transformative tools. We'll also be talking about how it boosts credibility, unlock financial opportunities like green financing, and bring accessibility to the global built environment. To help us unpack this, we have two very special guests with us. Sandy Lam, the chair of the Hong Kong Sustainability Strategic Advisory, or HKSSA in short, and Andy Russell, our Growth and Strategy Director of JEB Group. So Sandy and Andy, we have so much to cover today and I'm excited. But please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Shuxin. And hi, everyone. I'm Sandy. And hi, Andy. Nice to meet you here.
Nice to meet you, Sandy.
Hi. Today, I'm so glad that I can sit here and join you guys to discuss anything about green certifications and the development of sustainability. And I've worked as a sustainability consultant for like more than 8 years, I think, in Hong Kong. And I've helped a number of Hong Kong listed or private companies to start their sustainability journey. And I think JEB is one of them.
Yeah,
So it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. And I would like to share more views on our experience here to you guys on the topics of research, and let's see how important the standardized green certification or green application is, and how we can utilize the benefits brought from standardized green certifications to a corporate in terms of financing or their well-planned sustainability journey.
Super.
Amazing. Well, I'm Andy. I'm from JEB, originally from Scotland. I've worked for 25 years in corporate sales, in strategy roles and in furniture roles, working with major corporates across Europe, helping them with their estate strategies and growth strategies. My main focuses are around the circular economy. It's become a passion of mine over the last 5 years. That climate anxiety that I gained, I think a lot of people did during the COVID pandemic. And the circularity, life cycle analysis of office furniture became quite a big part of what I strove to learn more about. Reducing waste, enabling the circular economy with clients in Hong Kong has in particular become an area that I think is at the early stages, and therefore it's a stage that we can really impact. Personally, as I said, I'm a champion of the principles of circularity. I think we need to reshape the way that people procure products and manage the life cycle of products themselves. I think everything improves when we start to increase our knowledge of subjects. So I spend a lot of my time with Shuxin and JEB, working with our internal stakeholders to try and increase education around circularity, climate change, and the impact that the built environment has on that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing the potential that certifications can bring and what they can add to the sector and business in general.
Perfect. So jumping right into the topic, we'll get into the basics. So as you understand, green certifications are indeed everywhere, from buildings to the products that we are using. I would say that many people believe that green certs are tools to enhancing transparency and building trust. But I would like to throw the question out here. So Sandy, in your opinion, how do you think or see the conversations and or trends around green certs evolving as of today?
Okay, right. Green certification actually is not something new. As you can see, there are a lot of green certifications in our daily life. Just like walking into a supermarket, you can see there are the FSC certifications on any kind of paper products. You can see that there are a lot of maybe carbon neutral or relevant labeling on different kinds of chocolates, coffees, or any other kind of daily products. So green certification actually is in our daily life, and we really need to rely on them to see how we can improve our personal carbon footprint in our daily life too. So in terms of a corporate, green certification actually takes a more important role than that in daily life. We, no matter it's from the view of stakeholders like shareholders, investors, or your suppliers, your clients, actually they also rely on all the green certifications that a corporate can get in order to like maintain or to plan for their own green development journey. So nowadays, when we talk about green certifications, we can see there's a lot of focus putting on buildings. Buildings now in Hong Kong, actually, the operation of building, or we say the use of a building, actually that takes about like more than 50% of the carbon emission of the whole life cycle of a building. Actually, it's more than the process of constructions, or even more than the embodied carbon in the materials we used for construction. So how can we further improve, or how can we further reduce our carbon footprint when we try to use the building or we live in the building? Then the standard we choose or the labeling that we are trying to apply for actually give us a very good framework to start our carbon reduction plan. For example, when we try to apply for LEED or BEAM, that kinds of green certifications, green building certifications, apart from the construction process, they do give some advice on how we should like use, or how we should improve the current E&Ms or other kind of facilities inside a building, so that we can lower as much carbon emissions as much as we can. Just like when we have the air ventilation system, how should we use it? What kind of standard we should use, or what kind of design we should consider in order to reduce the amount of electricity used, or even we need to reduce the amount of refrigerants we used. If we can, through the design of the building, or through some incentive schemes, or even some internal carbon pricing schemes, when we try to use our office, or when our team need to use the facilities inside the building, actually that would give us a very impressive outcome in terms of carbon reduction. So apart from beams or LEEDs, this kind of green building, not just for the constructions of the building, but also for the use for the daily life of an employee in the office, they actually also give some advice too. So green certifications is just not just a reward for a corporate as their outcome of a very well-planned carbon reduction journey, but also it is a very good framework for the constructor, for the user, even for the end user to take actions too. So when a corporate try to apply for green certifications, usually they already think that, okay, I may need to invest a large amount of money to like buy a lot of new equipment or E&Ms, or like we need to change all the lights, upgrade. But actually that's not true. Most of the hardwares, I agree that we may need to upgrade them, but actually the how you use the equipment, or how do you use the facility, is the most critical part to justify whether you are actually like you can really reduce the carbon emission in your daily life. So getting a green certificate, it just gives you a very good framework for you to start the journey and for you taking it as a reference for the corporate strategy to work on it. But how do you monitor and how do you encourage the users to follow the rules? That's the most important part. So green certification is something, yes, that's something very important and it's not something very new. But how do we really take it into our daily life as daily practice, but not just we try to collect stamps or we're not just doing it for looking good, for reputation only. That's the most important part, I would say.
Can I ask a question just on that? How do you weave it into the daily life of clients? Because it does seem like something when we are working with clients that it's a box ticking exercise, and you know, we will complete many tenders over the years, and the tenders have got more and more box ticking exercises. But you know, the thing we see is that the end result is often the same as it would have been without those boxes to tick. That you know, the incoming product into a building is surrounded by EPDs, LEED certifications, BREEAM certifications, etc. And you know, the world that I mentioned at the start that that I have a lot of passion around is circularity. The outcome isn't driven correctly by the certifications, and the human behavior doesn't always change through the certifications. What sorts of ways have you seen yourself in improving that?
Right, I think it's a very good question because it happens daily. Most of our clients or our partners, they do face the same situation, especially when it's the case that the senior management would like to seek for a more efficient or more influential plan in terms of carbon reductions or energy saving. It's hard to motivate the employees or even their clients to participate in the program. It's easy, actually getting the certificate, maybe the most easier part among all. After getting the certificate, how can the management change it from just a certification, which is a framework, I would say, to their internal policies is very critical. For example, when we are doing procurement, actually we have a lot of policies on helping the employees to judge or to rank your suppliers. Which one should be the best? But it's the framework you choose from the green certifications requirement. Is that the framework actually being implemented into part of your internal action policies? That's important. Just say when we need to source something green, maybe like paper products, just like what we've said, FSCs, we can just put it in the requirement. When we try to procure some paper product, as FSC certification is the basic requirement. You must fulfill it before we can cooperate. For another example, if we need to cooperate with another suppliers to source some low carbon products, we can make it into a new policy that when we got two products on the same time, and they are with more or less the same cost range, we must choose the one with lower carbon emission, or we must choose the one with the certification instead the other one. We try to make the certifications into the internal policies for the clients. That's what we're doing actually. Not just for supplier selecting or not just for buying green paper products, but actually we would try to building an internal system for the clients that when they try to make internal decision even, we need to make sure that green elements are considered. So getting the green certification, good, it's very good. And at the same time, we should take out the methodology or the requirement from the certification, and then we try to change it into something that we can use internally and make it as daily practice.
Almost like an SOP in a way.
Yes, something like SOP. And on the other hand, for the intention or for the passion from the employees, I think incentives would be something very important. Of course, we need the management support to give to give some encouragement or some rewards to your employees
For doing good.
Yeah. And just like the concept of internal common pricing,
Yeah.
we try to price, or we try to we quantify the action taken by the employees. And how do you quantify them, or how do you count them? Of course, you need internal discussions. We need to discuss with the clients to see how we can quantify every actions taken by the employees. And then after the system is built up, we can make it as just like the final result of the any appraisal for the employees, or even we can make it as team competition to encourage them to do good, to lower the carbon emission for that team, or to increase the percentage of green products used in your department. So we think it's something that corporates can consider to make it a very encouraging and also fun actions for the clients to participate in.
Yeah. I think it's very relevant to our own business at JEB as well. Like, we are thinking of ways to communicate about sustainability to our clients, but also our internal staff. And hopefully next year we can do more of that engagement in both ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we mentioned about the procurement, sustainable procurement. And back to Andy, I think you have, from your background on furniture and coming from Scotland, you must have a lot to share about sustainable procurement.
Yeah, I think EPDs, as you mentioned, have been around for a while, Sandy. I think they're slightly cost prohibitive in a way to smaller organizations from being able to access them. But they do form a good framework around sustainable procurement. If they're translated and if the data within them is understandable at the client end. So I think manufacturers really need to try and work hard to take the meaningful information in those and transpose it into data that can be consumed by the end user and actually drive better decision making on the procurement journey. For us, I think EPD, we are going down the road of EPDs with JEB and our partition product. And for us, I think it's part of our journey towards sustainability to really, saying to people outside the business that we're serious about this as a business. We want to understand the full life cycle analysis of our product, so that we can pinpoint areas of that life cycle that we can maybe double down on, we can improve, we can, and it's already kind of highlighted some of those points. I think that for businesses out there thinking about, should we gain EPDs for our products? I think the market differentiation that an EPD can give a company in a world where if your business is not sustainable, then you're not going to be in business in, a decade, maybe less.
Yes.
I think every business will have to have that word sustainability integrated into what they do. You see it in car companies and airlines, their product is a plane, but everything is wrapped in that sustainability bubble. So I think the differentiation that certification gives for companies is huge. But coming back to procurement, I think that we're here to talk about certifications and frameworks that exist and that manufacturers can pay for and clients can pay for to gain credentials on the building or their new office that they've just moved into. But we talked a lot about how the tendering process and how clients can, through without driving their supply chain to always gain expensive certifications, that through the right questioning, they can, through the tendering process, they can gain some really good results and they can drive the supply chain to think differently. So I do think there's the client or the MNC or the corporate that's there trying to think about their role, they can have a huge impact on what happens. We saw that in the UK when I was there in a big way with some of the major banks there. I guess having light bulb moments of the impact they could have, and genuinely purchasing from suppliers who made boardroom tables from trees that had fallen in storms, highly sustainable in what they do, but they could never afford an EPD. So, so I think it needs to be something that doesn't limit the market, but at the same time creates a really good framework. The market is moving in one direction. So I think we all need to future-proof our businesses. And I think in order to do that, I don't think it would be silly to think about certification, think about how you can outwardly show that your business is following guidelines, SOPs that lead to the right outcomes, like ISO accreditations, etc. Because companies in the future will only work with you if you're able to clearly communicate that you are doing that, and certifications are a way to accelerate that journey and communicate more forcefully, I guess, transparently, that everybody knows it's apples for apples. You have that, I have that. We know what we went through to get that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And something that I hear about just now during the conversation is really on the topic of cost. So at JEB, we put in some resources into doing ISO, and of course, knowing Sandy through this entire exercise is really about having the upfront investment, whether it's for compliance or audits or even integrating sustainable materials into our products is money. But what I've also seen is that initial investments of such can actually lead to long-term savings, like you mentioned about operational kind of costs and energy savings, or even attracting premium clients to sustainable products of ours. So, but many businesses out there still feel that cost is a big inertia. So I do want to put out here is that how do you think businesses overcome this perception and see them as an investment rather than an expense?
Okay. I think it's a very commonly asked questions by most of the corporates, especially when the external economic environment is not that promising. People will start to think about like minimizing the cost or budget. But at the same time, maybe we should think in another way, just like what Eddie has said. Actually, sustainability or low carbon actually is it is becoming something that everyone should have it if you want your business to survive in the future. If you don't do that, maybe you will just like die in a decade or even shorter period of time. So when we try to do sustainability like what JEB has done, we try to invest upfront to do something as preparation, like doing ISO or doing product life cycle assessment, etc. Yes, there are costs, but at the same time, we can calculate whether this cost can be like we can get it back through different kind of profits in the future. If we can like try to reduce part of the carbon emission or even the energy consumption in certain part of the manufacturing process, actually it's cost saving already. No matter it's about electricity, it's about the logistics or the transportation we used, packaging materials, or it's already cost saving already. Of course, it takes time. Maybe the returning period may take up to 2 to 5 years, but still, it's cost saving. And as the boss of the business, you won't think that your your business is only surviving for 2 to 3 years. You're thinking about your business to survive in 10 years, in 20 years.
Yeah.
So if the ROI or the returning period is like 5 years or even to 10 years, it's quite reasonable. And I think you should consider it. And also, I got some of my clients, which are the brand owner. They try to when they try to source some sustainable materials from the upstream, they found that it is not easy to find a good material or the suitable sustainable material because most of the suppliers are not in large scale. They may not have the resources or they may not have the capital to support their sustainability development. So to make sure that the whole supply chain is sustainable enough and also for the sustainability of their whole business, they actually try to subsidize the suppliers to do their own carbon emission assessment and also to help them to do some R&D in terms of the carbon reduction technologies. And then they become the sole clients of that suppliers too. And you can see that the returning period can be very long, but this action actually helped this client to evolve from a normal market player to the leader of the industry. And if you want to make your business grow into a big one or to make it a very impressive brand name in the future, in 20 years, in 30 years, then I think you should start to consider whether you would take actions not only to just improve your own sustainability, but also your partner's sustainability. If the whole supply chain can improve altogether, then the industry can grow together, and which is very healthy to the whole ecology.
100%, yeah.
Yes.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
So, of course, most of the clients that they can subsidy their suppliers, actually, they're quite wealthy, I would say. But nowadays, actually, they do have some green financing subsidy from the Hong Kong government when you try to raise money in terms of green bonds or green loans. And I think that help this kind of corporates to transition and also to reduce the cost when they try to do the green financing. And once they got the more or sufficient fund from green financing, they actually can take more actions and help the whole industry to improve in a faster pace.
Yeah, I think the conversation on green financing and how it snowballs from a small action really grows much bigger when we continue doing the right thing. Yeah. Another question for Andy is really on the thought that Sandy has mentioned quite a bit about large companies being able to facilitate this kind of green transition. Like from your experience, like as a business owner previously, like what's your thought on this transition for a smaller company, especially on the conversations about being inclusive and accessible to green transformation?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think smaller players in the market maybe need to consider the increased market access, market penetration that green certifications or going down the route of being able to communicate your sustainability initiatives more clearly. As I said earlier, maybe not always through certification. You can do that in different ways. That it gives you increased access to opportunities that you previously wouldn't have had access to. So I guess the longer term investment that or the longer term return that comes from that, as you were saying, Sally, it is absolutely key. There are different ways that that are in place, particularly in Europe, where you can leverage shared certification frameworks so that you can piggyback on other organizations that if you're doing the same thing as them, then and you have the same materials, the same tools, etc., same suppliers, then you can piggyback on those frameworks. So that's quite a fast way to access certification and share the cost with competitors, in inverted commas. And product passports that are being pushed back to back to the supply chain to create.
yeah.
So if you're gonna build a chair or build a desk or whatnot, label that desk components, its material components, its weights, etc., its expected life cycle. And in the UK we used to have something called a kite mark. I think it was probably kind of looked like a triangle. It looked like our recycled kind of sign does now. And that kite mark had a recipe list, and there was a kite mark with a 1, a 2, a 5, a 7 in it, and you knew that was polymer or aluminium, or so you knew that had been kite marked, so you knew exactly what the material composition of that was. I think now when you come to the material passports or the product passports, taking that kind of food approach to, we all know how to flip over a package and see how much fat or sodium or
the nutrition label.
Trying to make that simple, trying to evolve the sector into something that is something every day,
easier to understand.
That we can consume quite easily. Government grants, I think you mentioned, are here in Hong Kong. I know that green money, there's trillions of dollars apparently swirling around the world of finance, looking for a home that can prove that it's doing the right things to gain that finance. We worked with some companies in the UK that were going through the exercise of really trying to be more purposeful as an organization. And the key number one reason when I asked, why are you doing this? What you're an ex company, you don't need to do this. The sole reason for them doing it was accessing investor funds into their fund. They couldn't access. They'd been told by certain investors, big investors, we will stop investing in your fund unless you do X. So this was then driven down to them. It was then driven down to the supply chain. And as suppliers, we had to completely change our mindset. So this was a shared values kind of framework running throughout. And sorry, Shuxin, your question was around
inclusivity for smaller companies.
Yeah, and I think I guess my point of the material passports was innovate in this industry as a smaller supplier. If you can think of a way that you can communicate your sustainable journey in a different way, it doesn't have to be an existing certification, but you can take to X business and say, we know EPDs are there, we can't afford one of those, but here's what we've done to drive this forward. I think this whole sector is still learning and evolving. I don't think anyone's got the answers. Green certifications like EPDs, LEEDs, ISOs, etc., are phenomenal frameworks. But if you are smaller and you can't afford it, innovate, be different. Take some out of the box thinking to clients, and
super helpful.
Actually, I got a case that I can share, and just like when we do sustainability, I always try to get paid. For example, ISO 14001 as an environmental management system. When we try to do it, we think it's just a green certification, but actually it helps you to reduce your cost. Interface, a very well-known carpet company, I think you guys know it. From the sustainability report, we can see that they have applied and of course successfully to get the certification, the ISO 14001 and also Green Circle. And after getting all this certification, they do have a calculation on the cost saving, in terms of cost saving from 1994 to 2019. Actually, they can reduce the carbon footprint by almost 96%.
Wow.
And also
25 years, 96%.
Very long period, actually. But you can see the result after you take steps one by one, and
It shows.
Every little step counts, actually. They actually achieved around 450 million in cost savings through waste elimination. And also, we got 96% reduction in water intake in manufacturing and 89% renewable energy used in manufacturing facilities in 2019.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's not the most up-to-date figure, actually. It's from that 2019 sustainability report. But if you start the whole sustainability journey earlier, even that you're just a small-scale corporate, you would benefit from every actions taken in the early stage.
Yeah.
It takes time. And also, maybe you're not going to apply for the green certification immediately. But if you take actions, just like I try to work according to the framework suggested by the certification, you are benefiting from it already. Maybe you can get the certifications few years later, but you start the actions earlier. And I think that helps too.
So starting on the journey, it doesn't matter when you are, but one of the key points there, I think, is working out where you are now, so that when you are 25 years down the line, you can look back and you can monitor that data and see the ROI. So that along that journey, we've talked about this in JEB before a couple of times, that we need to monitor our progress, because it gives you
measurable.
Yeah, and it makes you excited. It makes you feel like you're completing something, and look where we were, look where we are now. We've come so far, and I do think that makes a big difference to the energy behind making these things work.
Just like a student getting the school report card every year, actually. But still, you can see your improvement. Even that's a little improvement only, but after a few years, it become a big improvement. Certification is just one of the reward you will get. But if you try to work according to what the certifications required guideline, and then you can benefit from it already. Not a must to get the certification immediately, but you can try to plan for it, to take actions first, and then you'll see there are some benefits every year.
Yeah, super relevant to JEB once again, because we are on the journey towards that, and we are hoping that as we continue to do all of these actions, that we are trying to change how we procure things, to how our internal staff can reduce their electricity use after work, to how we can look for a more sustainable logistics partner, because transportation is quite a huge one for ourselves. And even looking at how we can measure even more Scope 3 emissions, because there's so much more that is uncovered for. Is absolutely what the conversation today is about. And the last topic that I want to touch a bit more on today is really on the conversation around technology, because we have been talking about the problem, and I also think personally that transformation in terms of technology can really help to simplify or scale up our sustainability efforts. For instance, like with blockchain or even IoTs, to enhance transparency to data collection, and even potentially asset tagging with carbon tracking can make it much easier to measure and verify our environmental impacts. So as exciting as it is, it's still very new to our green certifications or sustainability credentials world, and there's so much more to unlock. So Sandy and both Andy, I love to hear your thoughts on this. So essentially how you see technology transform the way we approach green certs today.
For me, technology helps a lot in data collection. That's the most direct effects that I can see. From some of my clients' experience, I think JEB can be relevant to, can be related to too. When you try to identify which data are relevant and collect them for the product carbon footprint calculation, it is not easy at all, because your manufacturing line is not just working for one product only. Actually, your factories try to manufacture thousands of products in the same period of time. So when you try to isolate the data for only one product for that carbon footprint calculation, actually it is not easy. There's a lot of estimation and assumptions inside, which may make our final results not that accurate, or we may need to rely on a lot of manpower to try to figure out the relevant data, and also it takes a lot of time to do so too. So nowadays we can see that there are a lot of technologies that we can try to utilize, especially when AI is out, I think. IoT and smart device would be one of the solutions that I recommend to my clients. Just like on your production line, if some smart device are like put on your production line, it can collect the relevant data according to all the, say, barcode or the code put on the different parts of your products, and the smart device can immediately tell the weight, the material, or even the source, the origin of your product or your materials used on the whole production line. And in terms of data collection and calculation, we no longer need to rely on our employee or the teammates to figure out all the relevant data in the database or the Excel. It's so painful. I think you understand it. So with the smart device utilization, it makes the whole process easier, and also the accuracy is higher too. And also for IoT is another part that we should consider to apply in our manufacturing. Especially when we have a very long supply chain, we may get a lot of materials from different suppliers from different countries. They may involve a lot of transportation. We got say aluminium from Thailand, but before the aluminium become the products out from the Thailand factory, they do have the story before they're going out of factory, right? Where does it come from? Which mine? Or is it a recycled material, or is a virgin material? All this data actually can be recorded in an IoT system. If we do have this database or this system built up, the whole supply chain or the whole manufacturing story can be recorded without errors. And also it is very clear that we can link it up into different suppliers, different transportation, also from which and where. It's very clearly stated in the system. So I think from the consultant side, it is also our pain point to do the data collection part, because the amount is massive.
Too much.
Fragmentized, massive. Not in the same format, not from one data point only, but thousands of data points. So with the application of IoT and smart devices, it do help, especially when we're doing the product passport. Actually, it's easier for us to get all the related information if we have the smart device installed on the production line, which is the first-hand data. But we need not to collect it from different layer of employees from different kind of companies, right? So I think it's easier to do that, the similar idea of nutrition table. We can have maybe we can just have each material used with the label on it or with the barcode on it, QR code on it. Smart device can read the data already.
Exactly,
I think it's a good way to utilize the technology part.
Great answer. I think the sector, you mentioned fragmented data. I think for years has struggled with getting accurate data. Different manufacturers of different levels have better quality data, and I think bad data in, bad data out. And when it comes to technology, it's the difficulty, particularly in our sector, is dealing with so many different manufacturers on maybe one floor plate. So from carpets to chairs to monitor arms to lighting to IT equipment, etc. That needs to be, you need to know that the data is verifiable. Otherwise, what goes into that database that then churns out maybe year-end reporting information for a client is auditable data. It's got to be verifiable. Blockchain has been banded about as a potential kind of route for creating the quality of data that's required. I think digital enhancement of real estate or of corporate real estate can also drive better outcomes at the end of life of products. I think, I've seen on a couple of occasions where clients don't really know what they don't know, if that makes sense. And I think if you've onboarded an asset at the beginning and its life cycle is 15 years but its warranty is only 10, for example, having the data in a database that tells them that at the end of that 10 years or maybe 9 years, give your manufacturer a call. The system alerts them, you've got a year left in the warranty, get the chair checked over because it's expected to last another 6 years. Rather than, it's out of warranty now. Where did we buy that chair from? Anyone remember? Or, what's it made of? Or does the supplier even exist anymore? Or, so there's, I think digital data around or using technology to manage real estate is absolutely key, but verifiable data has to be used going into the system, because as we move forward to scope 1 and 2 reporting, scope 3 reporting, the quality of that information will be reported in financial, legal documents. So it's got to be, we've got to find a way as an industry to verify that data without it costing an arm and a leg for the manufacturer to be able to do that. So I guess EPDs give you crystal clear data, but we have to find a way to drive that quality of data down to people that can't afford EPDs so that the whole sector can become more transparent.
100%. Yeah. Coming to the end of today's discussion, one thing I've learned from our own JEB journey is that certifications like EPDs don't just enhance sustainability, but they also align with business growth of ours, like whether it's gaining trust or accessing new markets and even attracting green financing that Sandy mentioned. These tools have made an intangible impact for us and hopefully to many people who is listening to our podcast today. So last question to both of you is that for listeners who may be considering joining this journey of sustainable transformation, what would be one piece of advice you would give for them to get started? Okay, let's start with Andy this time then.
My advice would be start small, focus on certifications that align most with your business goals. It's it's a journey. It's not going on the journey. A bit like Sandy was mentioning earlier, you start in a journey in 1994 and by 2019 you've made a monumental impact. So don't think too much about the destination, just get going on the journey. And every step counts towards sustainability. It all adds up. These small changes add up. So don't think, even if it is small, it's a great step in the right direction.
Sure. I totally agree with what Andy has said. And I think get a preparation as early as possible for the changing that's coming.
Yeah.
Just like what EU is doing, we need the product passport, we need the EPD because carbon tax is, we need to calculate for the cost actually. If you're doing, just for example, if you're doing product selling, when your products is going or product trading, you need to import your product into EU. Actually, that you need a preparation now. Actually, you need to collect data to try to calculate the carbon emission of your product, because there's maybe a chance that if you buy carbon credits earlier to offset, it's actually cheaper than paying tax to the EU. Would that be part of your plan? So it's not just about whether we do good to the society or we try to make ourselves greener, not just in that sense, but also we try to make our corporate survive in this changing situation. We need a preparation as early as possible, and actually it's all about the cost. If you do it earlier enough, actually you may save more money than you expected.
Totally.
And become more competitive, I'd imagine.
True.
Yeah.
Super. So this brings us to the end of today's insightful episode. We explored the critical role of sustainability certificates like EPDs or even LEED, and in bridging gaps, not just between manufacturers and end users, but also in transforming the built environment industry. From enhancing transparency and trust to unlocking financial opportunities, we have seen how these tools are just much more than just a label, and they are essentially catalysts for change. A big thank you for our guests Sandy and Andy for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your expertise and vision. So here's my takeaway of the session is that sustainability isn't sealed in one action. It's built on many informed decisions, starting with what we choose to do today. To our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you to rethink how we communicate sustainability, or if you are looking to dive deeper into the world of sustainability in the commercial space, make sure to share this episode with your network. Thank you for tuning in JEBCast. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow our LinkedIn for updates. Until next time, let's keep doing well by doing good. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thanks.